Right now, in this moment, today, whatever day it is that you're listening to this, whatever year it is right now, it will never, ever get better than this for your team. Factor that into any equation you make for the rest of your life, especially financial ones. This episode is brought to you by Budgy Smuggler, budgysmuggler.com for all your swimwear needs. We're talking hats, we're talking shirts, we're talking stubby holders, everything you need for your El Nino summer. Summer is here. It means party shirts. It means no hat, no play kind of weather. It's skies out, thighs out stuff. It's je suis ordinaire. budgysmuggler.com.au and use the code goodareas for free shipping. That's also valid in both the UK and Australia websites. Obviously, support for this here program is from our dear Patreons, patreon.com/Grade Cricketer. You sign up right there for $5 or $10 US a month. And then you get all the audio exclusively for at the end of every day's play for these Ashes. Also, hashtag ASTGC Fridays. Pezza, late.
Yeah. Well,
sorry, we're late again.
Sorry, we're late. The show has been beset by different challenges and obstacles over the last few weeks, coming back from England, etc.
It's just a two-man operation.
Technical issues. This week, I can say good excuse. I was, and not to put too fine a point on it, but I was laid down in hospital for a few days with a mystery illness. Suffice to say, it was concerning enough to go, and also, I've been discharged, so I'm all good. But yeah, mystery illness, and I'm just calling it that because there's a good tabloid level to that, and also humour is, as they say, it's a higher order emotional intelligence coping mechanism as well. But I'm out, and it's funny when you say late. I was being wheeled out of an wheelchaired out of an MRI, not because I couldn't walk. That's just the protocol. I was good to go.
Wheelie bin stuff.
Well, by the same token, I was wheelchaired to the lift to go back to my ward, and a young man in his scrubs said, "Hello, sir," and I said, "Hi," and he said, "Big fan." Now, he didn't say, "Where's the podcast?" But it was nice. It was always great to meet the fans.
Sure.
At the Alfred Hospital.
At the highs and lows.
Yeah. But I'm okay, thank you. But that is why that's why the cast is late. I was admitted to hospital for 2 days after we spoke to Carl Stefanovic. That was a weird day. That was a weird day.
Yeah, mate, these Ashes are weird.
Yeah, head into
highs and lows.
Yeah, that's right. I did an interview on the ABC while I was waiting in the triage at the Alfred. I can laugh now. But no, I thank the people who looked after me, and that's why we're late. That's it.
Okay, I know it's been a few days since the last match happened in the men's anyway. We'll be talking about what the fuck is going on with the women's. But let's talk about the third test there at Headingley. Australia made 263. Mitch Marsh hit 118. Wood hit 39. Mark Wood took 5 for 34 in that first dig. Then England hit 237 thanks to Ben Stokes' 80. Cummins took 6 for 91. Then Australia made 224 with Travis Head making 77. England then was set 250-something to win, and they did it 7 down. Harry Brook hit 75, Crawley 44, Wokes 32, and Stark took 5 for 37. We asked for your visceral minutes, and this is the reaction from the fans out there.
I'm terrified of Ben Stokes. The man lives in my head rent-free. I can't afford rent, so I'm back in with my parents.
Get in there, boys. I fucking knew the lads at Baz would do it. Your little Wokarati captain and this bunch of nerds never stood a chance against our better banter and bucket hats. 3-2, you cats.
I reckon a Sydney grade 2's team would beat a Perth 1's team, or would a Perth 1's team beat a Sydney 2's team? And then same again, do you reckon a Perth 2's team would lose to a Sydney 3's? Or would a Sydney 3's beat the Perth 2's?
I mean, Johnny did stay in his crease this time, but it didn't make a difference.
You're joking, aren't you?
Stupid dumb fucks. You thought you could alpha Bazball and Stokesy? Never. The real alphas are England. 3-2. Fuck off.
Can we fucking play you boys at Headingley every single fucking week of the year, lads? I'm telling you, Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, they give me hyaluronic acid. How are the crow's feet looking for you two Aussie bastards?
I think Australia lost this one on purpose just to make the test season 3 more exciting.
Have that, you crow's feet cunt.
Fucking Freo really fucked up today. That was a bad loss. Almost as bad as Pat Cummins' boys against England. I reckon drop Pat Cummins. Yeah, Freo lost. Drop Pat Cummins. Yeah, 53 points or some shit. Drop Pat Cummins. Steve Smith the captain. Bring back the sandpaper. Let's go, boys. Fucking 4-1. Let's go. Fuck off. 4-1.
30 quid for a haircut. For a shit salad as well. I'm not surprised he didn't want to go and pay for that. And all that for what? To look good as the villain to an entire nation. I can smell it. It stinks of it. 3-2. Fuck off.
Mixed emotions, really, because I'm Scottish, so I hate the English and don't understand the Aussies.
Fuck off. 4-1. Fuck off.
Someone kill me.
The men have lost. The women have lost. Australian cricket has lost its way. You need to sack Mike Baird, sack McDonald, sack Cummins, sack everybody except Mitch Marsh.
We're back, baby. Aussies calling for Omicron.
I tell you right now, is there any fucking danger in pitching the ball up and not fucking bouncing them every 5 seconds? You fucking nuggets.
I'm so scared all of the time. Why? Why am I scared? Why do I watch every ball? Why? I haven't had sex in 6 months.
This is an informal plea for consent from Mark Wood for me to lick every inch of his naked body.
So those are the thoughts. Those are the thoughts. Those are the visceral minutes this week.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone that spent the time to call in.
We had about 600.
Yeah, there was a fair bit to get through there. Now, Pez, it was another great game. It was another great chase for England. They've done it again. Another score over 250 in the fourth innings there. You're watching this through your fingers. You're watching this through your phone. You're watching it bent over backwards. But you can't turn away from it.
Yeah, but my big I mean, there's so many things you can start with, you know, with this game. But like the thing that's, I'm trying to zoom out. The thing that stuck out to me is there just seems to be a plethora now of like, you know, syrupy comments to the effect of like, England's won, Test cricket is alive and well.
Right.
Yeah, and I see what you're doing, England. Like, I see it.
They're saving
NASA did it. Yeah,
they're saving the game.
Oh, well, the logical extension is England win, red ball cricket saved.
Yes.
You know, purity is preserved.
Right.
Australia wins, it's all fucking over.
Yeah.
Dead. Evil reigns. You know? And dark arts. Cummins is the reluctant villain. England heroically, you know, riding in Knight on the White Horse to save the game we all love. Why? Why is it if Australia wins, everything's dead? I've never wanted to kill Test cricket more.
Yeah.
Never wanted the whole thing to be fucking dead.
100%.
You know, Cummins' middle stump broken, cartwheeling out of the ground. Both parts of the stump now.
Yep.
Test cricket over. I mean, let's face it, as you said at the top, it's never going to get better than this ever for both countries.
No.
Test cricket is at its absolute peak right now. Everything is downhill. So may as well win and kill it. Kill everybody's dreams.
Absolutely.
Embrace the villainy.
At the end of the Lord's Test match, Pez, I was thinking like, oh, just a little part of me is like, oh, this series deserved like a great finale, fifth Test, you know, the last session of the Oval. And then like the next Test started and I was like, I hope we fucking beat these cunts 8-0.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's in my brain. It's just, it's engrooved in my brain, right? It's just entrenched in there deep. So I can't escape that. Now, like, of course, the same principle must apply for this Test match. You'd think like, oh, it'd be good if England win this one 2-2 Oval. And now I'm like, nah, fuck that.
I have like, I suppose it's admiration and also confusion and bemusement for people who are so so holistic in their approach to life that they can have a team that they like, but they can also understand that like the longer it goes, the better it is, and the better the story is, and like how, and the more enjoyable it is, the closer it is.
Tantric sex.
I mean,
Sting was a master of it. Why come now when you can save it for a week and a half?
Mm-hmm. And
that was the noises he used to make as well.
Yeah, like it's good for this venture. The longer this series goes, there's more to it, and also
Sure.
the tiers. The longer it goes, the more it's leaning towards Australia losing both the men and the women losing 18 games in a row to save Test cricket.
And also India's winning in the West Indies.
And that's right. And we've all of a sudden spun our view on man-cats.
That's right.
So everything's coming up, England and India, you know.
Right.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
I mean, TGC is never happier as a business when Australian cricket's in chaos.
Yeah.
But and so we should be rooting for, you know, a close series and some, you know, going right to the denouement of the final session at the Oval. Some cunt dressed as Wonder Woman with his phone in his pocket and, you know, some other barmy army shit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, kill. I want to kill.
Yep.
I want them dead. I don't think it's going to happen. England to me looks like it has the edge. We'll get into selections and stuff like that. I admire the way they're playing. You know, I think Bazball is an ideology for our times beyond cricket. I respect it, but I want death, and I want to embrace the villainy.
Okay, I don't. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know.
How can you sit there and watch a session of cricket as an Australian cricket fan or a chronicler of the game and go like, "Oh, I hope England does well in this."
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I can respect the players. I can walk and chew gum. I can hold two ideas at the same time. I can love my children and want to throw them out a window.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, no, same thing. I like the players. I like the England team. I like the grounds, like the supporters for the most part. You know, all that stuff. Yeah,
it's fun.
But then, like,
I
still have the like what people don't understand is like I played a lot of third grade.
Yes.
And once you played that level for that long, it's very hard to separate the competitive edge from just, you know, normal rational thoughts over time, you know, because when you compete at that higher level, consistently,
you get conditioned into sort of more of an athlete warrior mentality.
Yeah, and that's why the Last Dance really spoke to me. England.
We all saw ourselves in Jordan there, right? Just for podcasts.
I was more of a Pippin guy myself.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, well,
just with a baritone voice. England can't catch. That's a constant throughout the series.
They do well for a team that can't catch. Or
do you want to talk about just in the game itself? Mark Wood bowling absolute fucking wheels.
Yep.
Scary wheels.
Yep.
And then obviously in the last few days, the story has come out. Well, it hasn't just come out. It's just a reference again because he wrote in his book that he wrote with Vitushna Hantharaja actually about Mark Wood's fear of flying, and they sit in alphabetical order. So Wood and Works obviously sit next to each other. They were at the end batting together in this game, and Mark Wood's fear of flying often results in Chris Woakes holding Mark Wood's hand. And now it's like, see, now he's bowling thunderbolts and he's a vulnerable man, and he's also just an extremely likable person. And that's like, this is my thing as well that I get annoyed with Ben Stokes as well, right? Now, Ben Stokes, when he's like batting on one leg and he still makes 80 and he basically saves the game in one moment for England in this game when they were 5 for 90 or something, and Australia had every right to bowl him out for sort of 140, 150, having a big 120 run lead or whatever. Instead, it would turn out to be a 27 run lead. And I get annoyed at Ben Stokes, who's injured. I'm like, this fucking guy, he can barely walk, he can barely see. He's batting on one leg, he's batting on one wrist, one elbow, one arm. And I'm like, you saw the footage of the American bird recently on the plane who's absolutely freaked out and said, like, that motherfucker back there, he's not real. That's how I feel when I'm looking at Ben Stokes. I'm looking at that guy back there. This motherfucker's not real.
Yeah.
He's not real. And now I see Mark Wood bowling thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And he's being vulnerable as well, and he's completely fine with that as a new age man. I'm like, what the fuck is it?
Bit off.
Can these guys be more annoying so I can hate them more?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do have some thoughts on that. The Wood thing is particularly concerning. It's the archetypal soft, strong man. You know, like he's a Geordie, Labor leafleter, sort of state school educated, lovely person who can frighten you more than any other cricketer can, and can kill you with his thunderbolts. And then also he has the security to hold a man's hand. And I think one thing that Vish missed from that story is they actually interlock their fingers when they hold hands as well.
Right.
And that causes that really like puzzles Australians, and that's 1-0 England from a masculinity perspective.
Fuck, they're winning a lot of different contests.
But you got to be careful. You and Australia, like we have to be careful, right? Because one thing that English can do, and let's just stereotype, is that if they win one game of cricket or anything, one game of sport in any time, it is like open top bus parade, DVDs. Like my references are 20 plus years ago, obviously. I'm stuck there. But they do know how to like develop a hero narrative around a win, They win a game of cricket, blokes are holding hands, Stokes is now Napoleon, and they're all lovely blokes, in bucket hats and shit. And this is Australia's challenge in the next 7 days as we go to air now, 6 days. Australia's got to change the game. Australia needs to win back some narrative of being good. Like it can't sit in the middle. It's got to go either way. We either embrace the villainy and become once again the biggest cunts of all time.
That's interesting.
You get the old guys out, wheel them out, help us feel safe in that sense.
Right. Okay.
Or Cummins has to do something vis-a-vis climate change or something. Or the boys have to get involved in saving a child from a fire. Or something. That's
interesting.
Something that allows us to feel like something extreme about them. Either way, they're just they're sitting quietly. Australia, I feel like they're sitting ducks. England's got no problem confecting narratives. They've won the game. NASA says Test cricket survives because England wins a game. Well, what's Australia doing in terms of corralling the narrative?
That's interesting. That's interesting.
We just see, Wood's good, Stokes is good. Fill the vacuum, comms team. Fill it.
Yeah.
Something.
I agree.
Kerry, what is it?
I think they need to start going around and paying for haircuts voluntarily.
Whatever.
Because I feel like England win a session and it's like, it's all fucking for king and country,
Yeah.
It's all...
What's Australia's narrative?
I'm getting montages of the verdant green pastures, the white cliffs of Dover all of a sudden.
What's
you won
ours?
a session, okay?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Starks won a 4-ball up in Scotland. That's what we got.
And then they played golf.
That's right. Stark replaced his divots. Up at fucking St Andrews or wherever the fuck they are.
Well, I saw this morning that Mitchell Stark is using one of Elisa Healy's bats because it's lighter. Because he said that during the Australian summer they were facing Enrique Norkia, who also bowls fucking rockets, right? And so Stark used one of Healy's bats because it's lighter. So he's actually stolen one of her bats and used it against Mark Wood here. But then he said, it's fine because she's using one of his bats. So
that's right, and that's not sort of. Yeah, I don't know.
A bit of married stuff there.
Yeah, Australia's got narrative problems.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like anything, then you got the Rishi Sunak, Albanese stuff.
Well, keep politics out of sport for me.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of cringe. The whole thing is cringe. But I sort of it goes to show cricket's in the consciousness. That's good, I guess.
Why don't he just get his phone out? Like that's like why have you got to print it out and show him something?
Yeah, it's media. It's comms guys.
Of course it is.
It's comms guys briefing him 2 minutes before. Oh, just do this, and okay.
Yeah.
It's social media team. Like, this will bang.
Yeah.
But I guess something.
I just had in a note here, Pez. All these games are such fine margins. Like really, either team could be winning and losing 3-0. Like seriously, in the first innings. Scott Boland has Stokes. Stokes comes down the wicket to him, and he hits him at LBW, and it's like...
It's not out, though.
No, it's not. But that
moment.
They review it, and it's like a B stick. It's umpire's call. It's not out. Like, it's all fine. But I'm just saying, in that moment, that would have been 6 for 90. I think in the third innings of the game, Australia are one for essentially over 100-run lead at that point, and then Marnus and Smith get out to Moeen Ali, who basically has no other impact for the rest of the game. There's been a couple of times in that game where they could have buried England, but they didn't because the teams are matched up so well. England will feel like they had every right to win the first game, but they didn't. The wicketkeepers let them down a couple of times, but it is remarkable that that's part of the reason why it's so gripping, because it's almost like every half hour inside every session a game can turn, and this is why cricket's so good in England as well, and this is why this series is so gripping. I think I'm going to fuck my sleep up for the next couple of tests. I think I just have to watch all of it because this is as good as it'll ever be. My point being about the Boland Stokes LBW thing is it is such fine margins that I can't think of another series except for 2005, which I know people are comparing about it endlessly, but
I think it's going to
be close the teams are.
credit to the style of cricket that England's playing. Like, I don't think there's enough respect out there for the dizzying effects of Bazball. I feel like Australia's doing well so far to ride it, you know. But watching the cricket, it's like it's like a bull at a rodeo. Just fucking hang on tight as long as you can. Wait for them to fuck up, and then hopefully some rodeo clowns come in and once it knocks you off and you don't get a spike up your ass. The horn. What drugs is he on?
That's a hazing ceremony.
I've never felt so uncertain about what's ahead. And I think online discourse reflects that as well. You know?
I've got a few ideas, but
yeah, that's right. It's very clear to a lot of people how Cummins should have skipped it. England's England with record-breaking fourth innings chase form behind them. But it's really hard to use like trends or history to deduce conclusions about what's to come. I do sense England is coming in this series. Like they've cleaned up some of their sloppy cricket, some of the waste around it. I think they're going to continue to gear the wickets to their strengths. I think Wood, if he stays fit, changes the entire complexion of the series. Australia is going to need to produce some of its best cricket, in fact, better cricket than it's already played, to take a test off England. We're probably moving into the next game and that kind of stuff now. Again, just to I guess amplify your point, it's a hell of a series, and it is. I'm finding it very difficult to kind of read what's going to happen, which is part of the charm of it, I suppose. Just
from a purely Australian perspective with this one, just think a couple of moments in the game were really significant moments in Australia's first innings, and the first one was when Wood bowled Khawaja, who I have never seen score a run. That was the last ball of his fourth over. He then got taken off straight away. It just felt like that got Wood into the game, into the contest. It was a fiery spell. It was the quickest spell I've seen an England bowler bowl anywhere. And then Mitch Marsh then scoring a fucking runner ball 100, which was incredible, but then gets out the last ball before tea. You know, and then obviously, as I referenced before, Smith and Marnus getting out in actually really weak dismissals. And they've actually, Smith has already scored 100. Marnus has got to 30 and 40 a couple of times. So it's a weird out of formness that he finds himself in, but he doesn't make those mistakes in Australia, and that's a frustration, you know. Just feel like Australia were right in that game a couple of times, and but then, you know, England are a good team as well, and they have good players, and they have match winners, especially with that batting down to basically 11, with Robinson batting 11 in this game. That Alex Carey haircut story is one of the fucking weirdest stories I've ever heard in my entire life. Just like complete absurdity. I don't really have an angle on it other than it's just fucking ridiculous. And like, as much as Australians want to be it's very easy to paint an Australian as villains or the villainy of the Australian team for, you know, sins of the past, which is completely right. But like this specific team are such likable, friendly people. Like Alex Carey, I couldn't think of a gentler, softer, more kind and interested person. And it's he's fucking flogging haircuts.
That's right.
Mate.
When some
nicking haircuts,
some knighthood bloke is on the BBC just telling lies about him. All of a sudden, Carey's a cunt. He's
idiot.
Getting booed. Like Carey's the nicest guy ever. It's like, mate, Carey's on the front when they're not covering the nonces, you know, or calling people nonces incorrectly. That, you know, the Sun's got Carey on the front page with like and the barber in the background. It's like that. I think that's well done.
Is Alex Carey that BBC reporter?
Yeah. Yeah, that's taking a dark turn, that one.
Fucking grim shit.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the fourth test, Pez, and it's a few days out, and everything will depend on the state of the pitch. So there is that. But Australia's lineup is an interesting one. We'll start with Australia. And do you want to talk about the Warner question first up?
Yeah, I suppose so. Where do you...
Can I say, from my perspective, Warner, it will play. And I just don't think it's ideal in any capacity. I'd be much more confident of Marcus Harris replacing Warner if he wasn't left-handed. I think Stuart Broad has been the best bowler of the series, and he is just fucking dominating left-handers across the world because he bowls so accurately to them. Marcus Harris is coming in cold. He hasn't played any cricket. I've seen ideas of like Mitch Marsh opening the batting, Cam Green opening the batting. These guys Mitch Marsh has never opened the batting in any professional form of cricket, to my knowledge. He's batted 3, obviously, in ODIs and T20s. Cam Green has opened the batting 3 times in his career. That was in an ODI and 3 T20s in India. The idea is that these guys would open the batting and you'd sacrifice them. Travis Head's another one. Now, Travis Head opened the batting in India. He was facing Jadeja and Ashwin from ball 1, right? And he wasn't facing, again, Stuart Broad around the wicket. Would you sacrifice Travis Head, who's been sensational, maybe Australia's best batter, behind Khawaja for the last 2 years with all these runs at 5. Why would you do that? I think David Warner hit 66 in the first innings at Lords, and he basically helped Australia not lose that game. Didn't win it, but not lose that game by not losing a wicket with Khawaja in the first 2 hours of the second test match. I don't think it's ideal in any way that this is really the only option, but I think you're going to back David Warner again, because I just think so many people, Australia have lost the game, they want to make about 6 different changes. This Australian team have lost 4 tests in like 24 or 5 or something like that. They don't lose many games. They've lost a game away from home against a good team. I don't think you need to make that many changes. I don't think you need to open the batting with Marnus. I just think, like almost unfortunately, that the best of a bad lot would be to go with Warner again and back him. Especially
the lesser of the evils.
Yes, thank you. Yes, given that he got 66 in 1 test to go.
I would to go from out to in on it. I would say, and I will say that at 2-1, Australia's approach to England's cricket so far, as far as I can see, has been to play the tortoise to their hair.
Right.
To continue with its own plans and tactics, to play kind of clinical, precise cricket, to ride the wave of their boundary hitting, to try and play on their ego, and to hope for or to play for some of that recklessness which they have delivered on England, and to then try and bury them with a little bit more discipline and precision.
Right.
But as the series, and I think that's been the correct strategy to this point, to play kind of conservative in Australia's own way and Australia's own brand, right? And I think to this point, that's been the correct strategy. I mean, to take 2 games off England is like Shangri-La areas at the start to be 2-0 up. I'm just looking at the way England played in the 3rd game. Like I said, I think they've tightened around, some of that waste. I think they're adjusting to the way Australia plays. And a couple of blokes who started the series a bit soft are coming into the series now. Every one of their batters has scored runs at some point. And Warner looked like the Warner against Stuart Broad of old in that game.
Yes.
And I just feel like for the final 2 games, it would be a mistake for Australia to believe that it can continue with that particular strategy for the final 2, because I sense that England is getting better and figuring out those parts of their game that have been a little bit sloppy. I feel like the moment calls for some kind of tactical or strategic boldness for, to ask England a question or 2, or to change, or to knock England off balance a little bit. I feel like Australia's quite predictable in the way that it's going to set up. I'm not sure how that actually manifests. It's not a way of me saying that Warner has to be sacked or whatever, but I just feel like Australia has to surprise England in some way, and because I feel like England's getting their shit together. Again, I don't know how to finish that. Now on the Warner question.
Yeah. You're also retiring him if you drop him, that's his
Well, the Warner question it is a fascinating one. I think you got to start by saying, anyone who is saying or proposing that what they've got to say about it is so obvious and clear on 100%,
mic drop,
immediately needs to be put on a watch list. The reality is that it's a bit of a line ball call. There are good arguments either way, because a lot of the alternatives to Warner are unproven, right? So you just don't know. That's literally the nature of selections. But what I find really interesting about this selection is that I think in Test cricket with selections, and I have been a selector for a long time.
Of course, especially at the top level
in Test cricket.
Yeah.
A lot of selections always have carried within it a certain kind of carved out piece of investment into the future. Sometimes you might select a player who in that moment can't deliver as much as as their opponent, but they might into the future.
Yeah.
Whereas just underpinning how big these games are, it's a rare scenario where this is this isn't investment. This is pure dividend selection.
Right.
This is the cradle to grave of Australian cricket from the time you go to Milo Blast, age 5. In every single level of cricket, it all ladders up to like the Australian team and this game.
Yes.
This particular game.
Grand final.
There is no higher level to attain. There's no selection you can make so that this person might deliver when you need them later. Everything is about the need now.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It shows how big the game is. And then so now I am lining up like Warner, Harris, Head, Marsh, Green, okay, let's
Renshaw.
just say Marnus, Renshaw, and just going, who among you in this fucking one-off dividend selection is scoring me runs? Like who is going to end with the most runs in this situation? All factors weighed in, and I'm kind of like, I lean towards Warner because of the gravity of the situation. Like I'm a very sort of don't write off a champion in the big moment type person. Like I would be inclined, I'd be less like, look, he's averaging 14 and 25 and the numbers suggest it's not going to happen. Like this is a fucking one-off dividend game. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. And so I'm like, I'll give him one more, Warner. And I think that like, I think people are underrating. I was there at Lords. That 66 in the first innings at Lords was worth a lot in that first innings. He scored some runs at World Test Championship. He's unders now, and he's on notice. But I'm giving him one more. I'm not.
It's funny because like if he plays this one and he fails, then you got to bring him, and Australia lose. Then you got to bring him. Then there's another final. That you gotta make, So that makes it complicated as well. That's the choice I would make, and it's flawed. There's numbers that make it flawed, and then if he fails, you're like. But Australia knew this coming over to England as well.
Yeah,
you know?
But I don't know. I do think it gets into more in intuition areas, and it is also weighing up the alternatives. Like, look, for me, just to address it, a lot of people are like, look, Cameron Green could do it, Mitch Marsh could do it. I mean, no doubt, as in they could put their gear on and walk out and bat.
They'd be the first guys to walk out.
Yeah, they walk out and they're holding their bat and broad or bowl, and they'll look like Test cricketers.
Yeah, and
they may score runs. I put a lot of weight in the difficulty of opening the batting in England.
In England, yeah.
I'd be inclined to replace him with someone who opens a batting, like which would be Harris, and trusting the guys that you have hired, to do it. So it's not easy. You're playing a guessing game.
That's also where I land on as well. It's just like all the other options. It's like fundamentally, and then you get into the minutiae of like he fields at one, he catches well. You know, like that's real 1% a gear for me. I don't think he's going to get picked because he can catch the ball at first slip. Though England can't do that at the moment. But
also he's got a book to release.
You got to factor that in.
You got to factor in the book.
Yeah,
as well.
Do you factor in like retiring a guy mid-series as well?
Yeah, well then you're getting into like you're into narrative.
Then he releases the book midway through the fourth test.
Yeah, and that would be good. He's like,
I think you should captain.
Camo knocks on the door and goes, "Look, Davey, I've got to have a chat with you." He's like, "Do you?" What about
he's
that?
Just inking. He's inking a feather.
That's right, and he's also got a pendulum in front of Cummins. So the Warner one's really difficult because on the other hand, you could sort of, as somebody said to me recently, like on the other hand, all Stuart Broad needs to do is give his hat to the umpire and say, right arm over round governor.
Yep.
Right arm round governor. He's from South London now. Right arm round governor, and then Warner's out. So
right,
yeah, that was just sort of that's what somebody else said, not me.
Okay, shall we talk about Mitch Marsh and Cam Green then? Not sure if you saw, but Mitch Marsh, 118 in the first innings, a couple of runs in the second dig as well, maybe a 20 or a 30 or something like that. Pretty big contribution in a low-scoring affair. Also got Zach Crawley out twice with the ball. It seems like it's going to be really hard to keep out Mitch Marsh, but also Cam Green is Cam Green.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And we know about his size. So there's that as well. So, like in my, I was just thinking about like the team generally, and I was just thinking about like, can you go all out seam attack and leave out Murphy, and then you also strengthen your batting that way? I don't know, maybe it's a little bit too fantasy stuff, but yeah, it is an interesting one where like, can you leave out a guy who's just hit a blistering 100? He's got a good record in the Ashes, that being Mitch Marsh. Can you leave him out? I mean, yeah, you can, but But
Yeah, you just sort of
don't
name the team.
You pick another guy. Yeah.
It's a reading between the. Yeah, it's so funny with the selection discussion because there's a difference between what you want something to be and what is likely to happen. They always need to be divided. But yeah, reading between the lines of Cummins' comments and Andrew McDonald's comments and even Mitch Marsh's comments. I think Mitch Marsh almost sort of put a line through the idea of playing two all-rounders straight away.
Yeah.
I got the impression from Cummins' comments that they may consider just bringing Green back in, that Green's their guy. Thanks, Mitch. You've done really well. We're going to stick with the team that we believe in, that we believe is our best team and has the highest upside.
Yep.
I wouldn't leave Marsh out. I just think that I think runs have been Australia's most kind of shaky prospect in the series and particularly at Headingley as well. So a guy who's coming in and hitting 118, run a ball when everyone, the score was 90 when he came in, when everyone else seems to be struggling around him. I don't think you can fuck with that too much. I also think like Cam Green's going to have heaps of time. His returns have been a bit soft numbers wise. Some helpful contributions, no doubt, and he's 2 meters tall, but his numbers
Good catching in the gully as well.
Yeah, that's right. So and like good all-round contribution. I mean, he's the only guy in the history of cricket who can also tell their grandkids that I actually got Johnny Bairstow stumps bowling 140k bouncer.
Yeah,
that's a good stumping from Carey. It's been missed that Green gets that wicket.
Was the keeper up to the stumps? No, I don't worry about that.
I was just bowling 140k at his lid and got him stumped. Carey's a great keeper.
Granddad, show us the footage. Oh no, there is footage.
Yeah. We watch it through our Google Glass. Anyway, I've seen that. Like, for me, I think you got to pick Murphy and you got to back him, and I think spin is helpful. I think they should pick a spinner. I think you got to back your batters to score runs. But this is me personally. I think that a lot of the chat about bringing both Marsh and Green into the side is difficult. I don't think there's much upside to having two all-rounders who can bowl. I mean, England's innings are going for 80 overs anyway. I just don't think they need an extra seamer in the side.
No.
But so if you are picking Marsh or Green, or Marsh and Green, you're just saying to one of them, we believe that you're going to have a better return with the bat. This is that dividend selection than Warner. You're just like, look, I just think you're going to do better than David Warner at the moment with the bat. I'm not sure that's really going to be the case. I would just pick Marsh and say to Cam Green, your time will come, boy.
I think it's also just a lesson that so many cricketers have at the top level where like they miss a game through, either injury or suspension or whatever, and then the guy comes in, he does really well, and then you just got, it's fucking licks. You just got to take your licks. The guy's come in and scored 100. I think you just have to play him. I agree.
I agree. But then again, I've heard it said that, maybe Bison, just takes the 100 in a losing side, takes that with him onto the into the circuit as well. So
that's right. Pez, I've seen so much love and support for Michael NESER.
Oh, yeah.
And it makes me want to push back on it because like the overwhelming amount of support for a guy that has played 2 test matches, both of them in Adelaide, both pink ball test matches, that has been usurped by 4 or 5 guys over the course of the time since he's been in the squad. It just makes me think like, there's got to be a reason for that. But then I don't want to come across too harsh because I think he's, first of all, fucking ripping bloke by all reports, and a really stable, excellent cricketer who will contribute. I think he came in the side, he's going to contribute. I just think like, people were like, nah, don't play Hazelwood, play NESER. It's just an enormous shout. Just an enormous shout. Like, nah, don't play Marsh or Green. NESER's your guy. It's like, he's played 2 test matches, both pink ball. He's playing county 2s, so he's just scored 176 overnight. Mitch Swepson batting at 10, scored 70. Factor that into all the equations. He took a hat-trick. He took 7 for 20-something in a game. Outside of that, he's averaging 25, 26, 27 in county 2s. I just think like he's a great cricketer. He's been in the squad for ages. It's been a reason why he keeps getting overlooked. And I just think, cool thy jets. Same chat with, should we get Maxwell on the side? Now we're talking silliness into like, we've lost 1 game. Can we make entire sweeping changes? Can Michael Clark come back into the side, Or strikes me a little bit of like just fantasy football stuff of like, I came 7th in my fantasy Premier League squad in the office this year. I've got a bit of an idea about how the guys score points in the fantasy sport. Why will no one go to lunch with me? Is anyone going to go for a salad? you know?
Yeah, like if I, on game day at Old Trafford, if NESER comes in on account of an injury to a player or something like that, I'm happy.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah,
and
okay.
I'm like, and I'm happy and I'm curious.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it would be great to see whether, like Australians have always mythologized the English package. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Like your Terry Alderman, for example, your Chris Rogers, who we're about to speak to, like the English specialist. It's a good package. It's a good feeling of safety. It sort of tingles. It's doona over you. It's a warm cup of tea or whatever your proclivity of tea is. Like, and I think NESER is shaped that way. It's like it's some outswing. It's wile and guile with the seam. It's competitive with the bat in the lower order. It's sort of the nearly bowling all rounder at times. We've just seen wonderful hand holding man Chris Wokes take 3 for and 3 for.
That's true.
And make 30 odd not to win the game. It's NESER's your equivalent there, and so I think
Wokes has played 50 Test matches.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, I think people's gripes about NESER is that he should be picked. That's not his fault.
Sure.
I'm making the bull case for NESER. It's like good cricketer comes in. I'm very happy with that replacement, but I kind of share your sentiment as well of like the online discourse is getting into like I've collected me Panini stickers, from the 80s, and he's my guy. Like there's a thing around there's a sort of an ownership thing going on, and like I'd like to cram my favourite players into a side.
Yeah.
Australia's short on runs, so let's just have heaps of bats now, but fruit bats. But like, I mean, I just think NESER's good backup.
I think he's good backup.
Probably not.
It's good backup.
And if there's an injury, let's get him in. He's cabs. He's cabs at the rank.
Yeah.
He's cabs at the rank. Come in. Yep. But I'm going for Hazelwood before him, and I'm also not dropping a spinner for him personally.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not rearranging the house.
Yeah.
For some Glamorgan runs.
That's exactly
with
how
respect.
I feel. Yeah.
With respect to him.
Yeah.
So
exactly how I feel.
Maxwell's a different one because like Maxwell is the great mistake and fuck up of our generation.
That's true.
And so and then he's in Warwickshire and you see it.
So he's in the country.
You see it scoring runs,
Yeah.
and it's a more viable option in the sense that like. Unlike Travis said, like he can perform a roll bowling off spin in that kind of in the way that Australia won that game of Lords, without really having a spinner, and it's batting and it's changing the game and all that kind of stuff. And also there's just this great, when his career ends, it's just going to be this great lament from all of us that like the fucking rigid philosophies of Australian cricket, both tactically, strategically and socially and culturally have basically denied this generational talent. And so with him in Warwickshire and he's only, a Avanti train, down the road from Lancashire, you're like, oh, can we just have it? Can we just have a bit of the thing that we missed, We
almost had this thing in our lives. Now, like he also would have been a red hot chance of playing in India in one of those Test matches, perhaps the game that Renshaw played. Had he not snapped his leg over the Christmas period, which is another great, unfortunate, happenstance in the course of his career. We'll be like, again, we didn't quite get to see it. Obviously, not to be confused with See It Tyres, the company that sponsor India.
We'll see ya.
But that's just what it is. But I don't know. I guess
are they about to start a See It Tyres segment? Thank you for clarifying.
But this is part of the thing where like everyone's so invested in the Ashes, and this is sort of the beauty of like what we're watching right now. People are so invested, they're so caring about Alex caring about how invested like what's going to happen. What's going to happen in these next 2 Test matches? Can we get a dash of this? And we're all just like fucking scientists and chemists in a lab trying to create the perfect 11 cricketers.
I worked it out.
I've figured it out. When in reality, it's just, can Camo win a toss and can we bat when it's fucking sunny for a bit?
That's right. How much live grass is on the wicket and can the coin fall in our favour?
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, to that end, Pez, can we just talk about England for a second? Because England have made no changes to their squad. Now, the biggest conversation there is about Bairstow and Folkes, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the reason that Folkes isn't in the squad is actually down to Ben Stokes' fitness.
Oh.
Because so Stokes can't bowl, right?
I like this.
He can't bowl. Like he is a broken man. He is giving everything to the cause, and he has already contributed one winning score in this game of 80 and one nearly winning score of 155.
He's England's highest run scorer in the series.
It's amazing. So, but without him being able to bowl, the balance of the side is then mixed. Now, you saw Wokes' contribution. They basically played Wokes as the all-rounder in this game at Headingley there. They basically make an equation that they need Bairstow's runs ahead of... Bairstow's more likely to score runs than Folkes, and then they sacrifice the wicket-keeping. And that's because of Stokes' lack of bowling. Because, I mean, then they have to play 5 specialist batters and 5 specialist bowlers and a keeper. Do you understand what I'm saying with the mix of their team? If Folkes is in the side, he is batting then... what is he batting? 6. It's too high. You got Stokes at 5.
I think their reasons are simpler. Like, I just think they see Johnny Bairstow as a very, very dangerous batter, and he could still prove to be the hero of the series. And I just think they have the England team has a massive someone will come off belief, which has basically been the case. And they just see Bairstow as yet another player in their side who can win them a match with something extraordinary. And frankly, you know, like as an Australian fan, you know, like he's been, he's clearly, you know, struggling with his leg, with his keeping, and he's dropped lots of catches, and you know, just without wanting to put too fine a point on it, he's clearly not fit, you know, to look at. Yeah. And but nevertheless, like as an Australian fan, I still feel like he can do damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just think McCullum just backs it, and I think it's credit in the bank for what he was doing last year, and I just think he's a totem spirit, you know, animal of their side, and they're just gonna keep backing him in, and you know, massive narrative that he does something huge in the next couple of tests.
Yep, that is true. That is true. Interesting one with Jimmy Anderson coming up in the Old Trafford Test match there. He's obviously could bowl it from his own end. He's obviously their best bowler of all time. But they won a Test match with a completely different lineup. Stuart Broad is probably undroppable. He will have a 9-day gap between tests. He has been the leading wicket taker. He is crucial. Mark Wood, undroppable again. Wokes, fantastic contribution this game. Moeen Ali back on the side as well, obviously for the spin, and then you've got Robinson, who had back spasms. I'm not sure if he's fit or not, but he's remained in the squad, so I'm going to guess that he is. So then what are you looking at there? You're probably looking at Anderson for Robinson, and then play the same side
if they decide to do that. I think they rate Robinson very highly if he's fit. I think they like it. So I don't think they would be sentimental in terms of picking Anderson because they're at Old Trafford.
No.
But yeah, I feel like Anderson is going to do something in the series as well. He's got to. He's a
pretty good player.
Can't keep him down.
Indeed. All right, let's talk to Chris Rogers, who is actually in LA at the moment, getting throwdowns on Melrose, ahead of the right in front of the Beverly Centre. Ahead of Major League Cricket, but we asked him more questions about the most important series, Major League Cricket, about the Ashes. But before then, Pez, we've got to thank our dear friends at Budgy Smuggler, budgysmuggler.com.
Yep.
Where are my notes here? Jeez, I've lost me notes about Budgy Smuggler. Use the code goodareas for free shipping at budgysmuggler.com.au. As I said earlier, it's skies out, thighs out stuff. Pez, you're wearing the Je suis ordinaire cap right now in a lovely shade of white.
Yeah, there he is right there. Je suis ordinaire.
There's also suns out, bums out. There's also
cheers, fellas.
Cheers, fellas as well.
So that's good. That's good lid.
A variety. That'll be the AFP coming.
Talking about panini stickers.
That's right. You picked who in your side?
Michelle Platini.
I was so good at top trumps. But summer is here, and that means no hat, no play kind of weather.
Yeah.
How many friends on Instagram you got at the moment in Europe, gallivanting around the continent?
There's a couple knocking around. I'm
Yeah.
trying to basically cut down on any of that
Cut
kind
down
of
your screen
gear,
time?
to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
But it's that kind of time, isn't it?
I tell you what, I got a couple of people just online. I've got people online.
Do you?
Just like Andrew
Contracted.
Tate. Yeah. Who are all over the place at the moment, and it's
Mentally.
absolutely rattled because Stuart Broad said something to them once and they are absolutely rattled. Don't worry about that. Anyway, yeah, I'm just talking about like people being back out in the world and wearing sort of festive party shirts,
Yeah.
and obviously our summer's, it'll come around the corner. It's only 6 months away from, being the festive season here, or 5 months indeed. But I don't know. I'm just saying people should get around Budgy Smuggler if you want some sort of festive gear, if you want party shirts, if you want fun sort of hat wear.
Indeed. Use the code goodareas.
And also, before we speak to Chris Rogers, it is brought to you indeed by Shane Watson, Winning the Inner Battle at shanewatson.au, where you can buy Winning the Inner Battle. You can buy it on paperback, audiobook, or ebook. You can buy it from anywhere in the world. We've already told you who's given quotes for the front cover. Brett Lee, Ricky Ponting, Faf du Plessis, who said, till this day, I still use it before every game. Is Faf playing in the MLC?
Yeah, he is. He's at the Texas Super Kings.
Oh, yeah.
So
He's also
captain.
captain.
So he's back with the CSK franchise.
Yeah, that's right.
He's with Bravo
That's
and that
right.
kind of gear.
Now, we'll talk about Major League Cricket in a second, but if you want to get Shane Watson's Winning the Inner Battle, go to shanewatson.au. All right, here he is. Here's Buck. Here's Chris Rogers.
You're looking at 2,000 test runs, 500s, 1450s, 25,000 first-class runs, 7,600s, Ashes home and away, deep knowledge of cricket in England. He's currently head coach of the Victorians men's team, so a number of his charges are involved in the Ashes. It's a great friend of the show. Chris Rogers. Buck, welcome back to The Grade Cricketer.
Hello, boys. As you know, Pez, it's a pleasure to be back here.
That sounds so insincere.
As you know.
As I know, it's a pleasure for Chris Rogers to be on. Look, we have to start with the emotion before we get into the actual cricket. Like, are you swept up in this series like we are, or is it just all hands on deck for the Unicorns?
No, I had to download Willow TV, which I'd never heard of, but it was the only way you could stream the Ashes in the States, and that chewed up my data pretty quickly. But yeah, it's been incredible. I think that the cricket in the series versus India was good, but I felt a bit cheated because you get to kind of halfway through day 3 and the game's over. So the fact that these games are going down to the wire, I think that's what Test cricket's all about, and we've seen some incredible things. Both good and bad, but look, I think it's been one of the best series that I can remember. I was fortunate enough to be in the UK in 2005, and that what that did for cricket in the UK was incredible, and I think this is probably going to be very similar.
Now, Buck, you're in
Australia.
I suppose so. Buck, you're in LA at the moment, and I know that because you just told us off air. But has cricket and the Ashes just gripped the nation? Are you guys getting stopped in the streets, going for your team walks? You're going down, the boulevards there. Just talk us about the 2009, 2013 when you were playing. Like, can you tell us the vibe of cricket in the US right now?
Oh, yeah, I went down Hollywood Boulevard and there were just games of cricket just being broken out everywhere, weren't there? Just all over the stars. But no, I wouldn't have thought so. But look, there's a big effort to push cricket in America. There's got the Major League Cricket that's starting next week. So that should be pretty exciting. So I know you were joking there, Higo, but it would be good to get cricket over here. The amount of talent, no doubt, that's here, but equally to broaden the game.
Let's get back to the Ashes. 2-1. It's 2-1. Cummins denies that the momentum's with England by saying it's 2-1. I feel like the momentum's with England, and I played twos. Does momentum matter? Do you think England is coming?
Is England coming? I think that they were pretty excited about that last test. So they might have thought that they've found a little bit with how that they can play against Australia, particularly with Wood. I think that was a huge inclusion, but it's hard to say. As we've seen throughout the series, I think that the game is just going back and forward so quickly. Every session, every hour is so important. So I don't really think so. I think it could be the luck of the toss. Whether you're batting under grey skies, things like that. So I wouldn't say that so much. Just the fact that they are such close games. Let's hope for 2 more of them.
There's obviously a lot of talk at the moment, Buck, about the opening batting position. Dave Warner's been there for years and he scored 20-something Test hundreds. He scored heaps of them. I've seen a lot of people say, like, well, what about Mitch Marsh opening the batting? What about Cam Green? What about Travis Head? What about Marnus opening the batting? Basically anyone except for Davey, which seems pretty harsh.
Glenn Maxwell
on the side. Yeah. Can NESER open the batting? Can you describe how specialist a position that is open the batting in England, especially when basically no one averages above 40 in that country? You had a great record there for the couple of series that you played there, not just with Middlesex, but obviously playing for Australia. But how specialist that job is opening the batting in England against the Duke.
Oh, look, it's probably the toughest job in the game, I would have thought, Higo, but no, seriously, it's look, it is a challenge, no doubt. I think if I look at someone like Uzi, I think he's at the back end of his career. He understands his skill. He's played a lot of county cricket as well, so I think that counts for a lot. Just the nuances of playing the Duke's ball in those conditions. So it's tricky, you put someone up there, who's a bit fresh to that role. You wouldn't expect them to succeed. You'd accept the fact that they were probably going to struggle there as well. So it's an interesting one. Davey obviously isn't playing the role as well as he would have liked, but perhaps others would have liked as well. So yeah, it's a big challenge for Australia, because what do? They've brought over 2 specialist openers as well who are sitting in the background in Harris and Renshaw, and all of a sudden the chat's probably more around how can we fit Marsh in, and do we open with Head, or do we go with Mitch Marsh at the top, or whatever. So I think the selectors are in a bit of a bind here. It's a bit of a tough challenge, and no one has a crystal ball. So, whatever that choice they make, they're going to be, crossing their fingers as well. But I personally think that Davey's probably going to get one more go. I think that, they don't really want Mitch Marsh to be going up the top. They like what he did, down in the middle order. So what do you do? How do you kind of keep that going? So for me, probably they might think of leaving Green out, but that's a big call as well.
You say no one has a crystal ball. A lot of people on Twitter have a crystal ball, so I'd sort of push back against that from you. But what do you make of one of the defenses of potentially selecting Warner is the idea that he's been involved in 50-plus opening stands, like in opening partnerships. So as somebody who has been involved in opening partnerships, because that seems to be given kind of more weight than any other partnership, is that a material thing, or is Warner now, potentially getting selected because Uzi's seeing him well? And I don't mean that facetiously. Does the opening partnership actually matter? Is that a factor in Warner's favour to you?
It's a great stat when it's in your favour, yeah, no doubt. So, look, I do think that opening partners tend to get this kind of relationship where they feed off each other well. They share the strike. They can kind of read the game a little bit for each other as well. For me, there was always there was a couple who I really enjoyed opening the batting with, and there was that familiarity as well. So there's those kind of things. How much weight do you put towards that? I don't know. How long's a piece of string? It's just a difficult question. I think one of your favourites, Eddie Cowan, I heard talking about Travis Head at the top. That possibly isn't the worst scenario either, because that that would then put England in a bit of a tricky situation, whether they do use the bouncer and with the new ball, or do they keep pitching it up? Those kind of things as well. So yeah, there's a lot for the selectors to think about there. Just a tricky situation. I guess they were hoping that Davey would somehow play to his potential, but it hasn't gone his way. So what do they do now?
Can you see a world, Buck, where Australia play Green and Marsh and Hazelwood and Cummins and Stark and leave out Todd Murphy? Given I understand that Old Trafford traditionally spins, but I feel like these wickets are made specifically for the test matches and what England want rather than what like Lancashire want, for example. Like, can you see a world where they bat all the way, like then Kerry would be at 8, for instance? Can you see a world where they would leave out a spinner? I mean, they basically won the Lord's Test match without a spinner, given Nathan Lyon was injured for that game. So can you see that happening, or must play Todd?
Well, I think there's people on Twitter saying that that's the side, and NESER as well. So, why don't you go with 6 or 7 of them? But
I play with 7 strikers on FIFA.
Look, it's a tricky one, because the other thing to think about here is Old Trafford. And that has a bit of a history that it can spin. It can be pretty good to bat on. From memory, in 2013, that was absolutely flat as a tack. So then I think I listened to an interview with Andrew McDonnell, and he didn't like the idea of really just kind of having that one style of bowling. So I would dare say that they would still probably pick a spinner. And then it's just trying to find the kind of 4 bowlers who can bowl fast medium around that, and what the balance is there.
From memory, you made 84 in that game. Anyway,
missed out.
I was 50 off 47 too. If you want to point out that.
Yeah, a lot of emotion in this series, Buck. Like, and because it's Australia and England, there's a lot of tribal stuff and a lot of like ideological stuff around baseball, a lot of spirit of cricket stuff. But like beneath that, there's like strategic and tactical cricket challenges for Australia and England. Like as a coach and long-time captain, how would you like deconstruct baseball? Like get into the war room with Ronnie McDonald. Like, are there different ways Australia might set up to beat it, or do you think they've got the posture right?
There was a psychologist, Stephen Sylvester, who used to work at Middlesex, and I really enjoyed listening to him. He would say things to me like, "Mate, watching you bat is better than sex," and I was like, "Well, I don't think you're doing it right," but that's a different conversation. But the one thing he did used to say to me was he loved the way that I fought fire with water. That was his thing. That was to me. He used to say, "Mate, I love it. You that's how you go about it. Other guys, they try and fight fire with fire." And in this scenario, I think, like Australia have come in. They've said, well, they're going to be on the attack playing high risk cricket the whole time. So we're just going to defend. We're just going to hang in and let them make the mistakes. So that's the scenario they've gone from ball one. I think from that first test, they had sweepers on the boundary as well. So that's their whole motto. I think that they're going to fight fire with water. It's just whether is there times where you can kind of adjust that, adapt it. Is there different players you can be a bit more aggressive with, and that's for them to have those conversations. So whether they've got the tactics 100% right, who knows? Once again, no one has a crystal ball, but I think that's what they've gone with.
I just want to ask you about facing Stuart Broad. I don't remember when he first started to go around the wicket to left-handers. It might have been after you played against him, Buck. But just looking at some, because I saw a montage of Warner's 17 times out against Stuart Broad, right? I'm going to ask you about Stuart Broad rather than Warner. But just like some of the balls that that Broad bowls, it's like that's getting heaps of guys out. Like it's just putting it in that sort of corridor. Some will nip in, some will go away. It almost seems inevitable. Can you explain when Stuart Broad gets the vibe going, you're whirring the crowd up and he's running at you with limbs and you're a left-hander, like what that competition is like in your brain?
Yeah, I found him the hardest of the two. I think Anderson is he's so perfect almost that a lot of his cues you can pick up if you're good enough, if you've played those kind of bowlers enough. I think, for instance, the ball, I was a left-hander, so the ball kind of swinging in, it would be, this perfect upright seam that was angled towards leg slip, and the ball that was going away would be kind of angled towards first slip, and the ball would seam the way it swung for whatever reason. That was the thing I found with him. With Broad, he'd almost look like he was bowling leg cutters to the right-hander, and they'd kind of come out and some would swing away and some would kind of nip back at you. So it was a nightmare to line up. And actually, I think he, for me, when he was over the wicket, it wasn't too bad. He came around the wicket, and then I really struggled for a while. I had to find some answers for him. He was probably, apart from Graham Swan's full tosses, he was the biggest challenge I had in those series. But yeah, so I find him, he was the toughest one to pick up, and to the left-handers, he just has that natural shape that it can look like it's coming in and then just nip away, and it's almost unplayable.
But you did manage to find some answers though as well, right? Sort of figure it out in a couple of games.
I had a bit of luck along the way, I think. Pez, couple of scores.
It's unfair of me. Just look, final one from me. Hugo's mentioned Todd Murphy before, and whether he gets axed so that people on Twitter can have their fantasy cricket team of batters going all the way down. But you coach Todd, head coach of Victoria men's team. How do you think he will be? Viewing the challenge, of the next two games. They're basically, there's no bigger grand final apart from the World Test Championship, which is the actual grand final. That was a warm up to the Ashes, which is preparing for the World Test Championship. But how would he, as 22-year-old off spinner facing a couple of demons, as in from England cricketers, how's he going to be looking at the challenge over the next two tests?
I don't think he'll have a problem with that. Almost that first game for him, he probably just needed to get it out of the way, and he didn't. He didn't really bowl at a great time. I think maybe he was a bit too defensive. He bowled a little bit with the square seam, tried to slide him through a little bit, and didn't back himself to bowl and try and beat him in the air with a bit more topspin. So. I think that there'll be people, in his corner that'll be helping him through that. I mean, he won't have all the answers as yet. He's only 22, so you'd expect him to be in the background, kind of talking to the people he needs to talk to, and if he got that chance again, I think that there'll be a bit of a different version as well. But the great thing about him is he's a very quick learner, so. I've no doubt that, if he got that opportunity again, he'd hold himself well.
Chris Rogers, thanks so much for joining us, mate. I hope that wasn't too painful for you. And all the best with the Unicorns, the big cricket going on that starts tomorrow at Grand Prairie, I think.
Before I go, there was a couple of things. I really enjoyed your last show. Pez, I enjoyed you quoting scripture. That got me really excited. I don't know if you remember that. Higo, mate. What about when you were dropping the fact that you've got the Aussie players on your phone on speed dial and going out drinking with them as well? You've come a long way, mate.
The other notes,
Pez, when you were talking about Johnny Bairstow getting a psychological advantage by walking out of his crease quickly. I mean, Christ Almighty, what was that?
Buck, thanks for passing on those numbers, by the way. So I could text them.
Sorry, boys. I couldn't help myself.
No, it's good. That's good. Thanks so much for joining us, mate. Well done.
Thank you very much to Buck for his time. Okay, Pez, I want to talk about the women's Ashes, where the score is now 6-6 to Australia. Sorry, 6-6 to Australia. Well, I guess it sort of is because England need to win the last two games now. England became the first team in 6 years to win to win a T20 series against Australia. So obviously the format of the Ashes is 1 Test, 3 T20s, 3 ODIs. Australia won the first T20 but with 1 ball to spare, thanks to Beth Mooney, I think it was from memory. England then won the next 2 T20s. The last time we spoke, they just played the second T20. The third T20 was at Lords the other night. That was rain affected. Australia made 155 for 7. Mooney, Perry and Gardner all made 30s. And England made 121, the Duckworth-Lewis score, with 4 balls to spare. Alice Capsey, who had, I think she scored 17 runs from previous 5 innings, scored 46 off 23. Nat Sciver-Brunt made 25 and Danny Wyatt made 26. So that made the score in the Ashes 6-4. Now, before the series started, England was saying that T20s are their best format. Elisa Healy obviously said, we're allowed to lose games of cricket. We didn't like that, obviously. And then so you're thinking, okay, well, if they're going to win games, then, a T20 might have been in play because that's England's best format. Now, they went back-to-back. They obviously beat Australia in that series, first time in 6 years since 2017, as I said. Now, we're coming into the ODIs. Now, Australia just fucking unbeatable in ODIs. They're in the midst of a 15-game winning streak in ODIs.
Yeah.
The ODI last night was in Bristol. Australia batted first. They made 263 for 8, thanks to Beth Mooney's 81 red. Elise Perry made 41. And then England chased that down with 7 balls to spare, 8 down. Heather Knight made 75 red. Beaumont made 47. There was also another 40 in there. I can't think from who from top of my head.
Kate Cross, 19 not.
Kate Cross. So Australia had them 8 down. They needed 29 or 30 to win. Kate Cross comes in, started doing
scooping and that.
Scooping down the grounds, slog sweeps.
Very concerning.
19 off 20. Watching this, Pez, I was concerned because England have won 3 games in a row for a team that has almost never lost a game. England aren't even playing that well. And I genuinely mean that. England in this game dropped 7 or 8 catches. The batting has been fine, but Australia's bowling up top with the seamers has been fucking pump. They're getting pumped. In the last T20, Australia's fielding was actually pretty decent, and you notice that always when Australia plays the women's, how much better Australia's fielding is than the other teams. They dropped a couple of catches last night, but not as many as 7 or 8, whatever England dropped. Soph Eccleston took an absolute screamer overhead at mid-off, which was a good grab. But apart from that, England's fielding was poor. But, England aren't even playing that well. And I just get the feeling like there's something not right in the Australian camp. I don't know what that is. I don't know. But, the bowling is off.
England can't be good.
No, England are playing fine. But, winning a game against Australia who never lose game and you drop 8 catches, something ain't right. And now there's 2 games left, 2 ODIs left. And Australia still need to just win one of those 2 games to retain the Ashes. They'll finish on 8 points. And then it'll be 8-8 if England win one of the last 2 games as well. But I've never seen it before from this Australian team.
Yeah. They haven't lost 3 games in a row since 2016.
Wow.
So
7 years.
7 years.
And it's just basically the same players. Obviously missing a couple, but...
Yeah, there was a moment in the men's and women's Ashes series combined where Australia had won the first 2 tests and the women had won the test in the first T20.
Right.
So it was just everything was coming up Australia.
We won 4 of 4.
Yep, 4 of 4. And then England have just won the last 4, men's and women's combined. And
that's good for the game.
Is it great? It's great.
You know what I say? Fuck the game.
Mate, here we go. I'll say this to you off air. I've got no problem saying it. I don't mean to be on a some kind of progressive high horse here, but combine men's and women's Ashes. Why not? I'm getting up at the Festival of Dangerous Ideas and talking through this and multi-format.
Okay.
I mean, we've already seen through the week the MCC committee have got together, all the big wigs, and just said, well, we've got to cut ODIs.
Put your foot through it.
We're going to fuck them
away.
We've got to fuck them off.
Yeah.
Except for World Cups and shit, with it because there's heaps of coin there.
Bit of bunch.
I just, I'm getting into this. The women's Ashes. I mean, this is from an England perspective. This is sort of, and I appreciate the inappropriateness of the male comparison, but it's 05-esque in terms of what turnaround we might be looking at, because I'm watching these games and I'm looking at the home side looking like a better team, and it doesn't make sense to my eyes.
Sure.
Which is exactly how I felt in 2005. I'm like, when is this going to be arrested?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when is this going to be stopped?
When will
and
our
reversed?
players turn up and start playing?
That's right. When will they do the thing that I'm used to, them doing? Because once something is perfectly set one way, that's how it will be forever.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, it is, and the reason I'm saying that the combined one is because the England could be looking at a double open top bus parade.
I'm not ready for that.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Trafalgar Square's getting renovated at the moment. I can't handle that.
Are we right now as Australians? I'm just expressing my own fear here. Okay. Are we at the very, very peak? Well, I mean, I suppose we would have been when we won the 2 tests and then the women had won theirs as well.
Yeah.
The very top of what Test cricket will ever offer us. That everything is downhill from here. Every single thing. Because
do you know why I think that's the case?
Cement company owners ain't changing what they're doing after this Ashes.
The reason I think that's the case because we're 37. Okay. Now, like usually the thing that you love the most and the best thing you've ever seen when you're a child.
For now, yeah.
And so the fact that it's this good and we're adult men,
yeah,
and we'll be trialed as so.
Tried.
We've been trialed. So it's a 2 to 3 tries. Yeah, and we'd be tried as so.
Trialed in 2s and 3s.
It's a 2 to 3s, possibles, probables.
That's right. Well, there's 1 or 2 ones plays. So it's sort of like a ones thing as well.
Oh, I'm there and thereabouts. I think that's what we're looking at. Like football fans in England often talk about the peak of their life was when Kieran Trippier curled that free kick in against Croatia and they were winning. They were winning the World Cup and it was summer and there was fucking lagers being thrown up in the air in parks on big screens watching the football. And I was thinking, we're going to do it. Football is coming home. And then obviously it fell apart as it often does.
Because the home of football is England.
That's right.
The good guys win.
The good guys win.
The good guys prevail.
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we looking at right now with Australia still, from an Australian perspective, ahead, 2-1 ahead.
Australia's winning in the men's and the women's.
Yes.
They're winning.
They're winning. Someone walks into the room, who's winning?
Yeah. Australia. Yeah. But we're sort of sitting here going, yeah, but not in the manner that I want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the correct manner, rhythms, momentum that I've become accustomed to.
The men haven't clean swept and nor have the women.
How was the sweeping? Was it clean? Did they get it done in 14 days?
But now,
that was a short ball tactic.
8 days ago, we were planning ticker tape parades.
We were discussing
and now they lose one game quite close, and we were thinking, how does Maxwell fit into this equation?
That's right. Do you bat him ahead of Kerry or 8? Does Kerry come in ahead of him?
Can we exhume Bradman? Was he frozen like Walt Disney? Can we unfreeze Bradman?
Neser's made 176 resi. Yeah, sort of the length of the order there.
I saw Pekovsky score 100 for Weybridge in the Surrey Prem the other day. Is he available?
They did bowl short to him.
They bowled short to him.
We could say that for a live show. I don't think Puck would mind, but one of the ASTGCs we got at Union Chapel was a bloke standing up in the like in the rafters in the second level of the chapter house at Union Chapel. Oh, we're playing against Pekovsky on the weekend. Should we bowl short? Obviously, that was like, I'll get you a play against Pekovsky, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I actually had a look at his stats the other day. Just going through.
And how's he hitting them?
He has got a few runs, but I mean, going to his Instagram, he's having a good time.
Yeah,
he's having a good time.
Like hundreds and stuff, or what?
He's got 100.
Well, let's bring him in.
Yeah.
For Warner. I mean, he's there.
Yeah.
He's one of my favourite players.
Yeah.
He could open with Maxwell.
I like what you said to Buck, and you said, I play FIFA with 7 strikers.
Yeah.
Just get them all on the pitch.
Yeah. Let's police people's enjoyment of the game.
Hey,
that's well done, England, the England women, by the way, and and we're afraid, and just fix it up. Fix it up.
Just fix it up. West Indies against India.
The big one.
Now, talking about an absolute fucking bloodbath.
How's that finished?
They're playing in Dominica, I think it is. Now, West Indies are all out for 150 on day one. Ashwin took 5 for 60 and Jadeja took 3 for 26, so they still took 8 for again. India, when I checked before, were none for 80. Jaiswal, who's playing his debut test, he was on 40 red, and Rohit Sharma, the captain, is on 30 red. Shubman Gill is batting 3.
Yeah.
And that's because Rohit said that's because he wanted to bat 3. He chose to bat 3. So there could be something there for the future. Virat's at 4. I saw Rahane at 5, and that would mean that's who's the keeper? I actually haven't looked.
Ishan Kishan.
Ishan Kishan's in the side as well. Okay,
that's 7.
That's cool. So that's what we're looking at there. India almost won on first innings after one day.
I noticed Harsha said he
stuff.
was like, he thinks that's Gill's position, 3. Like
3?
that. So we're looking at sort of Gill, the coming man, the new generational player in India at 3.
I got to tell you, man, like we're about to talk about the
Good player.
We're talking about the Cricket World Cup qualifiers, but I mean, so much of the story is about the West Indies now. They are about to be absolutely fucking dominated by India. Now, there's no shame in that. Away from home, but they obviously have not made the World Cup in India later this year. Just worried about like what the fuck is going to happen with if and when that team comes out to Australia. It's obviously a hard place to come anyway, but like what kind of team they're going to roll out, and you know,
we got a big old summer of introspection in Australia. Yeah. No one wants to talk about it because at the moment we're under our covers, as I've said before, playing our little Warhammer games, going, "Yeah, I love Test cricket," and it's good.
Yep.
But once that finishes, you know, the dust settles on the ashes.
And the reality of what Test cricket is.
What's the thing with England again? Like they win the, you know, like if they win, Test cricket survives. They did the same shit in 1882. They said like they you know, Fred Spofforth went through them, took 7 for at the Oval while English cricket died.
Yeah.
Well, why is it if they lose, everything dies?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, what were we saying? Yeah, well, no, genuinely, what were we saying? I forgot. I went off on it.
We're just talking about West Indies. It's going to be trouble.
You know, I think after this UK summer, it's gonna look grim. This Australian summer, it's going to be looking grim.
Yes,
and that's a systemic issue that the West Indies will, you know, be shining the spotlight on. I suppose
what is happening right now in the UK with the cricket that's being played there is not the reality. The reality.
But let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it.
Hey, let's
Poignant.
enjoy it.
Yep. Especially right now at the current scoreline.
Yep. Stop it here now.
Yep.
Stop now.
Yep.
So the Cricket World Cup qualifies. Sri Lanka and the Netherlands will be the final 2 teams joining the other 8 already qualified in the ODI World Cup in India later this year. What do you want to say?
Just a parenthesis quickly. I just wanted to read this out from my favourite Twitter account, Johns, from India, West Indies. Crazy Johns. Crick Crazy.
Yeah.
Picture of Ashwin just says Ravichandran Ashwin becomes the first Indian bowler to take the wicket of father and son in tests. History created by Ashwin.
Yeah. So there's also 3 other guys that have already got both Chandler balls out. Stark was one.
Yeah.
And Harmer, first South Africa.
Well, he's
was the
the
other
first
one.
Indian though. History created by Ashwin.
Yep.
Carry on.
Okay, the Cricket World Cup qualifiers. The Netherlands are joining Sri Lanka, and they're the final 2 teams that will join the other 8 already qualified for the World Cup. So in the match, so basically it all came down to one match where Scotland were playing the Netherlands. The Netherlands needed to win and then beat Scotland's run rate to get to qualify. So Sri Lanka were already qualified, and then Scotland was second and Netherlands were third, basically. So Scotland batted first in the match, and they made 9 for 277. Buster Lead took his first ODI fifer with 5 for 52 to keep Scotland at 277. Now, the Netherlands needed to win inside 44 overs to trump Scotland's run rate. They chased that down in 42.5 overs, 6 downs. They did it with 7 balls essentially to spare. Thanks to Buster Leeds' first ODI 100, he hit 123 off 92 balls. He was out with about 2 runs to win, I think it was. He's the 4th player ever to score 100 and take 5 for in a men's ODI. The other 3, Paul Collingwood was one, Viv Richards was one, and I think it was another guy from the UAE whose name escapes me. So those are the 4 that have ever taken a 5 and scored 100. When he came in, they were in all sorts of trouble. And so anyway, Netherlands did it. So now Netherlands are in to the World Cup, their first World Cup, I think since 2013, something like that. And obviously Sri Lanka are usually there, but West Indies nowhere to be seen. Zimbabwe unfortunately missed out as well due to net run rate.
It is amazing to think that it was between the Netherlands and Scotland for that other spot, to go through with Sri Lanka. I also get the impression that those non-full member nations were not meant to make it. You look at all the scheduling heading up to the World Cup, like Netherlands ain't got a game against anybody.
The Netherlands, half their team were playing county cricket, so they didn't even turn up to this. might be available for the World Cup though. Have a look.
They got a good lid, Netherlands. They got a good crest, Netherlands cricket.
I'm just keen on the colour.
Oh fuck! How good is fucking Netherlands colour?
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a World Cup
really
football
good
cricket. Yeah.
What's the name of the guy? Is it Max something? Max, opening batter, Netherlands.
Oh, it's beyond me. It's going on my head. Be careful about some sirens going again.
I'm thinking, can he open the batting for Australia in the Ashes?
He's my favourite player.
Now, Pez, you alluded to this earlier before, but the MCC has advised removing all bilateral ODI series except for the year preceding a World Cup. So ODI's in the bin, which is something. I'm actually just reminded that Ben Stokes has retired from ODIs unless he wants to play the World Cup.
Yeah, is he?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Hey, let's talk about Major League Cricket, which starts Friday morning Australia time. That's actually tomorrow. What day is it today? Thursday? Yeah, tomorrow
Do you
morning.
like that? Like, we just get binning ODIs, by the way. Like, how does that sit with you?
Do you know what, mate?
Knowing everything that you know.
I know a lot. I love an ODI World Cup. I really enjoyed the last one in 2019. The one in 2015, it was obviously out here. I think I was still playing, so I didn't really care about cricket or watch it.
A different thing. You're in a different state of mind.
Exactly.
A criminal state of mind.
I was embezzling funds through the club in 2015.
Is your club a real club if someone hasn't tried to embezzle funds?
No.
That's a question I've long wanted answered.
No.
If your club hasn't been the subject of embezzlement at some point in its history, then it hasn't really emerged as a club. Every club needs an embezzler. I've always said that.
Then a super pig and an embezzler.
Of course. We used to do a bit called the 10 people you'll regrettably find at your local cricket club. We could update that.
Yeah. You need at least one person with an enormous, a comically large penis.
Yeah,
an
that's
embezzler,
three. That's
a
three.
super pig.
A super pig, an autist.
Yes. A functional alcoholic.
Yes, yeah. That's five.
If not a dozen.
Yeah, at least if you don't have one, what is this? I think we're from the Alcoholics Anonymous Club.
A scorer not related to anyone in the side with questionable morals.
Yeah, but that's impinging on the first one we had because we had the sort of unscrupulous volunteer, didn't we? I was a club volunteer.
Club volunteer,
yeah.
Unscrupulous volunteer.
That's five.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just saying, you said it. Yeah, that's what you were doing in
Mr. Squiggler.
2015. You were about to retire, and you figure, oh, it's one thing. You have your checkbox of things you haven't finished in the game. You know, like. You know, I want to score 100 in, third grade.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I also want to see if I can embezzle funds from my club.
I also want to buy a yacht.
Well, that's a rich club. I want to embezzle funds to buy alcohol from the bottle shop across the road. Where'd you get the funds for these, Sammy? Don't you worry.
Woodstock, anyone?
It's crumpled up 20s from Player Rego. Anyway, what are we talking about?
Major League Cricket.
Oh, yeah.
Starts
ODIs.
Friday morning Australia time. So it's a 19-game tournament from July 13 to July 30 is the final. Here are your teams. Los Angeles Knight Riders, MI New York, doesn't make sense, San Francisco Unicorns, Seattle Orcas, Texas Super Kings, and Washington Freedom. The two Australian affiliated sides, the Washington Freedom, that is the New South Wales one, and then the San Francisco Unicorns are linked with Cricket Victoria. There are two venues. The first 8 league games will be held at Grand Prairie Stadium in Texas before the teams move to Church Street Park Stadium in Morrisville for the next 7 outings. The playoffs will be staged back at Grand Prairie again. Grand Prairie is a former baseball park and was redeveloped into a cricket stadium in 2022. The new stadium has a capacity of close to 7,000. The other venue at Church Street Park in Morrisville, that's in North Carolina, that has a capacity of about half that, so 3,500, which can be expanded up to 5,000. So the players involved, Los Angeles have Jason Roy, Sunil Narayan, and Andre Russell. That is the Knight Riders. So Sunil Narayan and Andre Russell are now linked to like 4 different Knight Riders franchises. Obviously, Jason Roy opened the batting this year for the... Kolkata Knight Riders, thank you. So New York have Rashid Khan, Trent Bolt, and Kyron Pollard. San Fran have Aaron Finch, Marcus Stoinis, and Corey Anderson, the Kiwi. Texas have Faf du Plessis, Devin Conway, and David Miller. Faf du Plessis and Devin Conway obviously... Devin Conway was playing for the Chennai Super Kings and just won the tournament. Faf du Plessis has a history with Chennai.
Texas Super Pigs.
So I can get behind that. The Super Boars. And Seattle have Quentin de Kock, Shimron Hetmeyer, Imad Wazim, and Sikandar Raza. And Washington have Hasaranga, Anrik Norkier, and Marco Janssen. The first game tomorrow is the Texas Super Kings against the LA Knight Riders. There is some interest in this because the players are, like, just listen to the players there. That's better than the Big Bash.
Yeah, it's already high quality.
They are owned. So of the, how many teams are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. 4 of them are owned by IPL franchises. That being LA, New York, Texas, and
Seattle's Delhi.
Seattle's Delhi. Right. So there's interest in it because, like, I think cricket has attempted to break into America numerous times over the course of the,
haven't we all?
Recent decades, indeed. But this feels like a really significant push. What with the Olympics there coming up, of course, and also just now IPL teams getting into America. So it seems like a significant push. What that tournament's going to look like, we understand that the stadium is tiny, as in the ground itself is tiny. No one knows what the wickets are going to be like, the quality of those wickets, who's making the wickets. I guess someone knows who's doing it, because it's someone's job, but it's
no one knows. That would be a problem.
Who made the wicket?
That's right.
I don't know.
That's right. Paid $1 billion for Rashid Khan to come over here. Someone doing the decks.
He's doing decks.
Players out there doing covers the night before.
Hetmeyer putting the cones out. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, for anything in America is, making it in America is one of the great Western capitalist dreams, right?
Yeah.
Like it is the Sinatra song. Like and there's this kind of like natural spark that comes with trying to impress that great market, and that great home for entertainment, America. And I'm sure that would have been part of the allure of a lot of players going over there, and why Mitch Marsh was so gutted to make that 118.
Devastated.
Because he was meant to head over instead. He would have been at Seattle I suppose, with the Delhi mob. But I mean, for some background, I mean, for TGC, not wanting to lift the hood on the data very often, but America is our second highest audience on YouTube after India, which speaks to the platform stuff a little bit. It's not the case for the podcast through the ears, but just for our own reference point, we have a higher audience of cricket viewers or TGC audience out of the US than Australia and the UK, which is just a small little morsel to explain how many cricket viewers there are in the US, most likely, Asian expats, for sure. So the point is, and I think a lot of the people who are behind the MLC, they already understand that there is a fundamental, foundational base of cricket support there. I suppose the question is, can it break beyond those boundaries? But they may already have something to back up. Now, on top of that, you just cannot divorce the creation of this competition, the way that where it's been scheduled, as in the timings of its scheduling, from the broader explosion of franchise cricket around the world. It is the 365-day Monopoly board. They've taken up July 13 to 29 this time around. The 100 starts, a couple of days after that. But, it's incredible how many of these new competitions in the UAE, for example, South Africa and the US, they butt up against more established competitions. And some of those competitions, like the BBL, for example, they've shrunk. Now, that's been sold as like, we just listen to you guys and we know a shorter competition's better. But I think it's more like players going, I'd much prefer to please my IPL franchise paymasters who are now dotting themselves around the board than that. And, to me, it's just another brick in the wall. And I don't actually necessarily mean it negatively. I'm probably more neutral in it, but another brick in the wall of the domestic franchise scene probably eventually being, completely owned by the IPL franchise model. I fail to see a scenario where other domestic franchise cricket can exist independently of the Indian franchises. And I again say that neutrally. It's just an analysis and just a one man on an armchair's observation of the trends.
To your point about interest in cricket in America, so India are obviously in the West Indies at the moment, and they are playing ODIs after this, and they play 5 T20s after that. The last 2 of those 5 T20s, so T20 4 and 5, is being played in Lauderdale, which is in Florida.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, like, in terms of our analytics and stuff, there's obviously a number of English and Australian expats obviously consume TGC who live there. But I know that they're expecting the people who have bought the tickets, because the first game is sold out, and they're expecting a lot of it to be Caribbean and Indian expats going to that game. So that's just who the market is for, you would suspect. But yeah, to that end, I mean, like, this is why, like, the 100 starts, I think, the same day. August 1 is the day 5 of the Oval, which is the last Test match. This is part of the reason why, like, in our brains, it's like, it'll never get better than right now. Like, it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, because even these games here, they don't have
painting our little Warhammer characters.
they don't have these don't have T20 status, because same as the IL T20, the one in the UAE, they're not America and UAE are not full member status. They don't get the T20 stats.
Yeah.
But they get the bunts.
It is interesting in that. So yeah, so looking at it through that, like, you know, what does this mean for the other cricket that we love level? But then I don't know if it's a sort of an inbuilt capitalist thing, but like the dream of making it in America, or also somehow capturing the attention of Americans who otherwise consume the big 4 sports over there, not to usurp it or anything like that, but to somehow gain some kind of foothold where cricket has some sort of, you know, mainstream recognition, let's say. I'm not saying interest or kind of explosion or anything like that. Is you know, there is a certain, you know, excitement to that, particularly thinking about, as you said, cricket being at the Olympics there as well. You know, what might cricket look like if it does gain some kind of traction?
If it's on SportsCenter
in the US. But like, as I say that, I can just somehow imagine several people in the US like pissing themselves laughing that they would have anything to do with something that in their mind is an English invention to, you know, export civility. You know, like they'll be like, that could get fucked.
Can we somehow monetize the Boston Tea Party?
So, but yeah, no, I mean, look, we haven't even figured out yet, but it will be very, very interesting to cover and to see how it actually rolls out, and also just to explore the cultural differences, just try and export the fucking weirdness of cricket over to the US. There is an opportunity there.
Yeah, you know, TGC live shows in the US as well. I'm having a look.
I'll have a look.
All right, should we do hashtag ASTGC?
Okay.
Do you want to do it?
Okay, yep, no worries. This is from Danny Rude. People might know Danny's voice from previous podcasts at the very start that we're very grateful for. Hello, Kramer and Newman. I am writing you an ASTGC in Microsoft Word. I wonder what the ratio is of word to non-word write-ups. Anyway, the film Inception 2012, brackets 10, close brackets, is one of Christopher Nolan's finest works. He's quite the director. A tidy cast as well. Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hardy, Mike O'Kane, Elliot Page, and Cillian Murphy. Not Charlie Murphy, sadly. Unity! A cracking score by Hans Zimmer. 2. Can you make some of those horn noises here?
It's like when Cam Green's 2 meters drops. Yeah, I can't do it.
As they go through the dream layers to carry out Inception, I couldn't help but think that it is rather reminiscent of one's time in the land of grade cricket. They must go down the dream levels, brackets grades, proving their worth along the way while avoiding limbo before timing their run to make it back to the initial level, first grade, as the film/season ends. Some ego gear, dark pasts, and fanciful thinking in there too. And it's all in the name of figuring out some dad stuff, as Fisher's father tells him while on his deathbed, "I'm disappointed you even tried." Or some shit. They even briefly end up in 4th grade, where things are as stable as Putin versus Neil Wagner Corp. We also have some made-up numbers, 528491, which I guess was someone's exaggerated claim of career runs scored. Or they have given their batting average without a decimal point and to 4 decimal points for some reason. So my questions are, is Inception a dream analyzes wet dream vis-a-vis grade cricket? Would Inception, Interstellar, The Dark Knight Watchmen... Or the Prestige Bat 3 in Nolan Films 11, with Oppenheimer coming in late, making up the playing 11. Can DiCaprio bat 3 even though he averages under 25? Good night, Newman. With love, Rudy. P.S. Sorry for the aggressive italics. 5 (6 weeks.
So if you would agree that your best player bats number 3. Like 3 is like Prestige, right? No, not to be confused with the film The Prestige, but like
or Prestige TV, as sort of started with the streaming era.
So for me, like The Dark Knight Watchmen, which is now ruined, thanks Rudy. The Dark Knight's like one of my one of my favorites. So that's batting 3. Oppenheimer, it's about to come out. It's supposed to be good. Where does Barbie fit in? Big questions. Big questions.
Yeah,
I did like Inception and Interstellar.
Run a ball, change the game kind of stuff with Barbie.
Yeah, that's right. But I had a dream last night about Margot Robbie. Now I think about it.
Did you? What was the nature of the dream?
Can't remember.
Oh, really?
Can't remember.
Yeah, I saw somebody post a picture of Margot Robbie, who had herself posted a picture of herself without. Can he talk English? Can the bloke talk English?
Let's see.
Without makeup. And then the caption of the post was, this is Margot Robbie without makeup. She's very mid.
Perfect. Yep.
That's new language. You'd be around that kind of stuff.
Mid.
Yeah. Something else very mid. Yeah. I saw another TikTok as well on Twitter of an American explaining why Paris was mid.
Okay. Yep.
There's something in mid, but and then it was just getting absolutely hammered. But it's like, Margot Robbie's mid now. Is she?
So it started.
Wow.
The etymology of how I understand it was like in a musician's discography, and like where the latest album fits into the discography. You wouldn't say like it's absolute trash, as some people say that like it's the worst one they've ever done.
I get it.
It's just in the middle. It's just in the middle of it.
Short for middle.
Yes.
It's like I bat 6 in threes.
Right. you bat in the middle position in the middle grade.
That's right. It's very mid.
Yeah, a couple of scores away from New South Wales.
Yeah.
Though.
I mean, it probably is a bit broader than that, isn't it? Mid, but like now I'm thinking of it as a sort of a Rubik's Cube cricket. I was like, mid. Oh, that's batting 6 in 3rd grade. So you got 5 grades and you're in the middle or whatever. Anyway, what are we saying? Yeah, Oppenheimer bats 4.
Have you ever had a dream? Have you ever done the Inception? Had a dream where you're dreaming? I don't think I ever had.
Look, I don't think so. I do like the idea that you've got to dream your way to ones. You always heard that, it's like if people want to get themselves to sleep, they start in 6th grade and face every single ball and get through to test level.
What I wouldn't give for that kind of 8 hours-ness.
It'd take a really long. You just wouldn't sleep for sort of weeks, wouldn't you? If you're going through every ball with the time, you had to bat time back in the day.
Yeah, of course, especially those timeless grade games.
I've always said, it's a missed opportunity. Like, there's never really been a great cricket video game, but like the turning if it was sort of cricket meets Sims.
But you're not talking about just like actual gameplay.
Career mode.
You're talking about career mode. Yeah.
Cricket. I mean, it's a total missed opportunity. There could actually be like a really immersive. They talk about the players like you're watching the Amazon films or the Amazon doc, and they take their PlayStations with their headphones and stuff like that. Like, what if you could do like multiplayer remote gaming, but you're actually playing against Australian cricketers on career mode of how you manage yourself outside the actual game?
Yep.
Like out on the circuit, who's getting the round, who's got the Uber, who's
one of
inside. One of the players.
Were you not going to buy me a beer if I didn't go inside?
One of the players, wants it to be like an end of season trip. His penis is out. He's pissing against the bar now.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
He wants to take one of the strippers home. He's asking for a quick whip around for cash.
That's right. He's insisting that the actual book that he was running, where everyone's got odds against their name for who's going to have the most sort of promiscuous sex, continues, and that the person who has the most sex actually wears a yellow jersey, like they do in the Tour de France.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, nah, it's all good, coach.
Yeah. And he calls it Le Tour.
Yeah. Hey, boys are on the tour. You're like, nah. And it's that you could fold that into this game.
And who's the guy who has the most knowledge about sexually transmitted diseases?
Yeah. Or who's the guy who is continually on LinkedIn asking for support because he's actually in trouble through his employment for poor behaviour in his teaching role, and he needs help as he's going to court.
Yep.
But you could fold all of that into the game. You got court scenes. I'd play the shit out of that. can you give me a reference, please? Because mate, you played 6th grade. We've both. What? Like if you were folding that into a dream,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like that's a rich dream. Like you're on the end of season tour, and then all of a sudden there's a knock at the door from the police because there's been a complaint, and you're there in a like a cyclist yellow jersey and a helmet on. But I'm
in front of the peloton.
I'm wearing the yellow jersey. Come with me, Mr. Perry.
And then I turn up and I'm
naked guys on the balcony. Your mates going, see ya, Pezza.
I'm wearing the polka dot jersey. Sprinter. I have the fastest sex. See you guys later.